Welcome to Sassy and Successful, the podcast where you're going to hear stories full of stress, success, and lots of sass. I'm Michelle Castillo, your host, and today we have a very special episode. As you notice, I'm solo today, and I have a very interesting topic that I think everyone we've been through that. But before, to all those ambitious women that refuse to shrink, this one goes for you. Over the years, I've encountered a lot of women that their successes are undeniable. They are strong women with strong steps in their careers and their professional lives and their personal lives. And I realize in the stories that you guys have heard here that every step that they give or every achievement that they have, it just feels a little bit small. But the reality is that there's no small step. A step is a step. Something that you achieve, it's still an achievement. The fact doesn't change. And I think I've been in those shades before. I've shrink myself, my successes, my achievements, my little wins. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to celebrate because we think that we should be doing it anyway, when the reality is that it still cost us. We're still sweating, we're still bleeding, and we're still achieving things in a daily time. I want to bring up something special as well that happened this last week with Elisa Liu. So she's a gold medalist in skating. So she won a golden medal, and it was really beautiful to see her win, because it wasn't just a win that it was just like, okay, yes, it was a big win. Like, she smiled and she danced and she jumped and she was just embracing her win. And I think all the wins should be like that. All the wins wants to get shown in our bodies and in our faces. Sometimes when we win things, especially in my life, as an immigrant in a foreign country, that my language, it's not the first language that I was learned. Sometimes when you win, or when I win something, I feel that that's something that should be done or accomplished, that I need to keep proving myself because it's something that it's expected. And not necessarily. I think with women, especially women in business, we are always expected to be doing more, to always improve and develop more things. Like, if we need to be proving in a room that we belong there. I felt like that. I felt that I constantly need to prove in a room why I deserve to be there. And I noticed in the stories that I've been portraying here that they feel or they think that they need to be proving themselves, sometimes by not asking help, sometimes by not asking help, and leave their troubles and their problems and their struggles within themselves, because they think it might look as a weakness. We are sometimes ashamed to look weak because, society kind of tells us that we are the weakest gender, that we are a weakling. And the reality is that we're not. We are strong. We give birth. We create a life in ourselves, and that's a pretty strong thing to do. And sometimes when we don't want to look weak, it's because we have tried to be strong for so long that we think that light of weakness, or that slightly flaw, that it might be portrayed as a flaw, and we are not defective. Sometimes society wants us to feel defective, and we're not. We're everything but defective. And within this topic, I also wrote down a couple of questions for myself and you as well. The first one is what surprised me most from my guest. So from my guest, it's the resiliency, the way they have of, okay, I'm gonna cry it out. I am not having a good time. I am struggling with this. I am probably feeling alone, but let's keep going. Let's keep showing up. And in the journey, when you try to show that you're strong, the important part is to keep showing up for doing the things that you love daily, and even when you don't feel that you're having big wins, as I said before, every win is a win. Sometimes, opening up a little bit about myself, I have clinical depression and anxiety. And sometimes when you are in depressive episodes, you don't feel like doing things. You don't feel like stepping out of bed. And you have all these guilts of like, oh, probably I should be more effective, or I should be more active. And the reality is that the win, it's already you being here, you wanting to be better, you wanting to do things. If you open your eyes and say, oh God, I can't move, but I want to, that is a win. And it's important for us to acknowledge that professionally and personally, because even professionally we can feel sometimes that we cannot do it, and the imposter syndrome, that it's all over the place. I had it just before recording this episode, that I don't know if the things will that I'm saying will resonate for someone. But then it's like I remember the purpose of what I'm doing it, and I remember that acceptance and embracing what I'm doing and remembering the reason why I'm doing the things, it's a good way to come back to myself and ground myself on, okay, so this is good. This is gonna get through the people that it's gonna get through, and I'm doing this for me and for my little nieces and nephews that are back at home, and that I wish they don't feel the overwhelming society and the overwhelming situation of them not feeling enough, or them not feeling that they're not being active enough. I think everyone has their own times and their own paces on how they do need to do in life. Especially when you get older, you can feel that the life it's moving around you, that you are having different ambitions. This episode, I want to talk about a little bit more about ambition, about how sometimes ambition in a woman, it can be attractive, but when it comes to the practice, it's threatening. So, and I've been through that. I'm gonna start slowly opening up about my story, and this it's going to be part of my story. I'm back on the dating scene. Woo! And it's definitely the ambition. It's what it's setting me back. It's making me to go back and to sit back on like, okay, probably if I'm too ambitious, someone is gonna feel threatened by that. So, but at the end of the day, if someone is going to feel scared about that, it's their problem. I really don't want to shrink myself, and I don't want anyone to shrink themselves. And this goes back to the topic of my previous guest. Even when they talk about their wins and their achievements, you can hear how they level their voices, how they kind of lower their voices when they talk about like, oh yeah, I've done this, or you can see that something in them changes, because we were shown and we were taught to not brag, if you want to call it like that, to not say out loud and show emotion on like, yes, this is a win, or I made it, or it's something that I think we were taught to not show our emotions. And I mean, I'm Mexican, I'm Latin, 1,000% emotions. And coming, one of the questions actually that I'm gonna go one step back, because before doing this episode, I asked on my Instagram what you guys wanted to know about me. And I think the most common, it was how I ended up in Australia and what I've struggled the most on culturally. So how I ended up in Australia, that's definitely a story for another episode. And I know you guys are really curious about it. And I promise I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna tell my story, but in a couple of episodes. So stay tuned. And culturally, what I've had the struggle the most, it's with emotions. I'm a person who feels a lot. I'm a person who cries a lot, who laughs a lot, who yells a lot, who dances a lot. Only just last Friday, I was in the beach with my girlfriends. We started playing some music and I just started dancing. I just felt like it. And then it resonated with me that everyone was looking at me in a weird way, that they were like, what is this girl doing? But for me, it's like, if I feel like dancing, I am just gonna dance and it's okay. And in my country, Mexico, by the way, that's the way that it is. If you feel like laughing, actually in Mexico, in most of the restaurants, like you cannot even talk because everyone's laughing or singing or talking, and it's just like this amazingly overwhelming noise, but it's really nice because you can see all the emotions that are going through the tables of families or couples or just parents and their kids. And it's just amazing to see all that. And coming to Australia, I think it is my main struggle, feelings, because I laugh really loudly. I talk sometimes really loudly, and I like to show my emotions. I like to show when I'm sad. I like to show when I'm happy. I like to show sometimes when I'm angry. I don't get angry that often. I do. But yeah, I think culturally, that's something that I had a struggle. I've been having a lot of struggles. And I think this podcast was born out of that, out of me trying to find my place, me trying to find a way that I can voice out what I'm feeling on every aspect of my life, professionally and personally. And and yeah, it's that's one of the questions, answered question. Heidi, I hope I answer your question. Um and it's one of the topics that it definitely hits a little bit heavier in my heart, because after feeling for so many years that I didn't belong, I'm start to feeling that I belong even in a country that it's not mine. So this is actually a funny feeling. Going back to the ambitious part, I think something that we always and we kind of mix up, it's confusing ambition with what's the other word? Or not associating ambition with money. With one doesn't have to do anything with the other one. So I think that's something that we first need to put on the table, that ambition has nothing to do with money. I am ambitious of life. I love to have different experiences in life. I love to travel. I love to see different scenarios, like different, yeah, like a forest. I love to be in a forest. I love camping. I love going to the beach. I love, like, I'm an adventurous person, and I think that's also ambition of life and living, and that has nothing to do with money. So I want to go back to that ambition and women, that sometimes it's misunderstood as like, oh, she's an ambitious woman, like, oh, probably she's only with rich guys, or probably she's only after guys because of their money, or probably she just wants to have more money for herself and she's never gonna have enough. And that's definitely not the reason why we do things or why we have ambition at all. So that leads me to the second question on what makes me uncomfortable about ambition. It makes me uncomfortable that it's often linked with money, because again, one thing has nothing to do with the other, and it definitely makes me uncomfortable on the point that I'm sometimes feel that I don't want to be ambitious because I don't want to push people away. And and that's back to the one of the points that I went through before, that ambition, it's, I mean, if someone's gonna like you, it's gonna like you for all the 100% of you, not just because one thing, or disregard you because just one thing. So that's definitely people that you don't want to have around. It's one of the things that sometimes when you have a different view, and a different point of view, it can be portrayed as, oh yeah, it's like with her, it's like that way or the highway, and it's not like that. I think with ambition, it's also part of the ambition, the negotiation of like, okay, I want this, but that doesn't mean it needs to be 100% like that. So yeah, I think what makes me uncomfortable about ambition, it's talking about it, because it can be, everyone has their own opinion, and sometimes when communication, it's not our skill, because it has not been my skill for a couple of years. Sometimes it can get confused, but yeah, I think we need to start talking a little bit more about our ambition as persons, as individuals, and as well as a community, because I think being part of a community, it can make you ambitious as well, like for you to see a little bit more changes in your community, for you to be ambitious of living in a worldly living neighborhood, and try to make the things different and a little bit more comfortable for your community. I think that's also ambition. The third question: what had I changed my mind about since starting this podcast? Ooh, a lot of things, but I think the first one is support. Support. You having a support network, and having the trust that they're gonna follow you through a cliff. It's sometimes not implied, but it's it's the way it is. I guess with all these amazing women that I've met, what it resonates me the most is their support network, their partners, their parents, their kids, their friends, and the way they felt supported by them, and even embracing themselves and believing in themselves, even when they haven't felt enough, or they haven't felt that they needed to be trusted, if that makes sense. So when you have someone and you're doubting yourself, and someone hugs you and it's like, I believe in you no matter what, I think that definitely changes my mind about support network. I think in the past I haven't had a good support network, but now with all my plans and all the things that I want to do, and all the times that my support network has shown for me and embrace me and support me and push me as well to do the things that I'm so uncomfortable to do, I think something that I changed my mind, or that I think different, it's the support network, that when you have that backup, it's you against the world, and your support network in the back. So yeah, that's something that it's definitely amazed me and made me feel a little bit more trusting in my support network. So yeah, that's really nice. So part of the ambition, it's also not celebrating your wins. So one, I want to make you a question, and this question also goes to myself. Have you ever achieved something big and you decided to shrink yourself or celebrate it in private instead of celebrating with someone or telling someone? And if so, why? I've been in so many cases that I achieved something and I'm so scared to celebrate it because sometimes I feel that someone might feel a little bit threatened by what I've done or what I achieved. So I learned as well that with that, I think you're not, if you're scared of that, you're not in the right environment. You're not in the right circle, because people that love you and people that embrace you, they will celebrate your achievements and your win no matter how big or small, because we already said that there's no small achievements. So that's something that I learned as well with the previous stories, that when someone doesn't celebrate your win, or when you're trying to shrink yourself or shrink those wins for you to fit somewhere, I think that's a place where you do not belong anymore. Because if you're not being supported in your wins, how come you're going to be supported in your struggles? So that's also a really good lesson that this podcast has taught me so far. If I'm calculating who might get uncomfortable around myself because of who I am, I think it's time for me to step away from that circle or from that environment. So this is a little exercise for you guys to do there. Just think if you guys have ever had to shrink yourselves for you to be or to enter a room, because that's definitely a room that you do not belong and you really don't want to be there. What else? Ooh, yes, fears. We're going part to the fear part. Fears. I was a little bit scared of doing this episode at the beginning, but here I am. So yay, we conquered the fear today. The fear of ambition brings out a lot of fears, especially imposter syndrome. What if we don't make it? What if we a lot of what ifs appear in our list. But I wanted to list 4 of the fears that I think sometimes as a woman we consider the first before actually going into any steps up in our career. The fear of being perceived as too ambitious, something that you probably too busy or too work focused, or like you're workaholic, when sometimes we're not. Probably we are, because we are trying to carry a whole family in our backs. We're a single parent. We are a single woman in a foreign country by themselves. We are a single mother. Well, I am not, but they are single mothers that probably they have mom and dad as well helping them at home, 2 kids, and there's no man in the picture. So sometimes we judge we judge before we can even acknowledge the situation that person, especially a woman, it's going through. So the fear of being perceived as too ambitious exists, and it's not nice. The fear out earning partners. Yes, the fear out earning partners. This is something that, I mean, with the society that we have right now, that's definitely leveling up of the pay gap between men and women. And obviously, if someone it's in a career that there's a lot of money and your partner it's not, and that's okay. It's not the way that you expected, or sometimes you met different people through your life, and that doesn't mean that because, I don't know, your partner it's not in the same industry you are, it's not going to work financially, when it's not like that. So the fear out earning your partners, it becomes a little bit more strong when we are fearful of threatening their masculinity, because definitely, like, sometimes we grew up with the belief that men need to provide, and that can cause as well a little bit of relationship instability. So that this is something definitely that makes women shrink themselves, like the fear of becoming too ambitious, out earning your partner, treading their masculinity, the relationships instability of like, okay, probably my partner it's looking after the kids or looking after the house, and I'm out there trying to gather and to be the financial provider for it. So this is something that in recent times it's changing, but that's definitely still affecting a lot of couples and a lot of women in their relationships. So I think we need to be a little bit more aware of these topics, because there is this kind of couples out there, and I think this is something that we need to change and we need to start talking about, because it has nothing to do with masculinity. It has nothing to do with with men being less capable of doing it. Sometimes it works like that, and it is all right. um Part of my questionnaire to myself for this episode is, have I ever done this? Yes, I have shrink myself to fit into a room. And I think that led myself to think that I didn't belong, because I actually didn't belong there. I was shrinking myself to fit in a room that I kind of outgrown. And I'm not saying in a rude way. Sometimes people pass their cycles, like when you are talking with people from your high school, and probably you were friends at a certain point, but right now you really don't have anything in common, and that's all right. That doesn't mean that they're less than you or you're better than them. Simply you just you don't meet in life anymore. You really don't have anything in common, and that's all right. That's when you say like, okay, I still appreciate you, you're still the special in my life, but to be honest, it's I think we no longer have anything in common, and that's all right. I think it's something really smart to do sometimes, to step away from people that you no longer have anything in common with, and it has nothing to do with like, oh yeah, you're a bad person, or they're a bad person. It's just sometimes you're 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 strangers. You were friends once, but right now you're strangers, and it's all right. Like, if you want to keep bringing them to your life and keep talking to them and have a relationship with them, that's good. But if you ever feel overwhelmed because someone no longer fits in your life, that it's all right, that it's valid. We grow. I think there's a study that says that we change every 7 years, and that's all right, and it's normal. Have I minimized myself? Yes, I'm not proud of saying it, but yes. As I just told before, I have felt that sometimes feelings wise, I need to, keep putting down a notch, because sometimes it can be a lot for people, and like my personality can come across as a little bit loud and noise, and that's all right. And sometimes we are so desperate to feel accepted that we minimize ourselves, and that happened to me. I think I was so desperate to feel that I belong somewhere that I minimized myself, and it wasn't fair. And I asked myself an apology for it, because that's something you definitely need to do, to ask an apology to yourself when you feel that you are mistreating yourself, when you're trying to bring down yourself for you to fit in a box where you no longer fit. That's definitely something that you need to apologize yourself for. But yes, I have minimized myself professionally and personally. Have I celebrated privately instead of publicly? I have in both ways. I think I am a really public person with my friends. With my friends, I definitely like to share my wins and my daily struggles and my daily wins as well. So I do celebrate with them publicly, but it's not that you're gonna look at me posting a video out there of like, "Whoo, I woke up, guys, and this is my win of today." And no, I'm not like that. But yeah, I think lately I've been celebrating a little bit more publicly with the people that I love, and that's the way that I'm taking myself out of the closet, if that makes sense. Do I feel safer being slightly smaller? No, I actually I'm a super extra person. If anyone that meets me personally, and eventually when while you guys see this podcast, you're definitely gonna read a little bit more of my personality and the way I live. And also, if you follow in my social media at Sassy and Successful, you are gonna meet me in a little bit more personal level where I definitely don't feel safer being smaller. I think my heritage as well, it's making me be a little bit more loud and I feel happier when I'm not being I'm not trying to fit, or when I'm not trying to make myself small. So I don't feel safer being slightly smaller. This is something that we come across a lot as ambitious women when we're trying to not be portrayed as we want more, because that can be scary. I mean, I want a comfortable house. I mean, this is like my long term wants, but I definitely want a ranch with a lot of animals. But that's not something that you're going to say on the first date, because someone is going to come in and going to tell you, like, oh, probably she wants someone that has a lot of money to do this. Like, I'm an ambitious woman and I'm willing to work for the things that I want. But if someone wants to come across and work with me to achieve that, you're more than welcome. If not, I know I'm capable, and I know I'm ambitious enough and stubborn enough to do it. So I think that's something that comes across sometimes wrongly, on the side that, oh well, if you're ambition, you're probably looking after someone that has more. And it's not someone that has more, it's someone that wants more. And I think that's something beautiful. um we're going back to the feelings part, and this is going to be probably the last part. uh I want to go back as well to Alyssa Liu, the gold medalist, on her, like, showing that she was happy of winning, that she was happy that she achieved that gold medal. I really don't want to give you a lot of her story, so I really encourage you for you to Google her, Alyssa Liu. She is a gold medalist of last week Winter Olympics in Milano, if I'm not wrong. And she has a beautiful story. She has a story of resilience, or a story of how she didn't allow for anyone to tell her how the things are supposed to be done. Things are definitely done with discipline, with ambition, but she wanted to do it her own way. And I think that was a beautiful example of how things, especially as a woman, needs to be done. Embracing it the way you want to do it, the way you know how to do it, and the way you know your mental health, it's not gonna be damaged on the way. I think these amazing disciplines are really tough on the mental health, because obviously you go through a lot of faults and a lot of, like, look at everyone that is achieving it where you're not. But for God's sake, like, we're talking about like Olympics. So her story, it's genuinely amazing. So I encourage you to Google it. Um, and what it resonates me the most with her story, it's the happiness that she showed on that podium, and she shared with her podium partners of, we did it, like, let's do it, and we should be proud, and we should be happy, and we should be embracing ourselves. And this is the whole point of my podcast, that to present you to these beautiful women, to these amazing women. And I'm not I mean, I'm talking inside and outside, but this is the whole point of the podcast, embracing women and bringing up all of us together, of like, look how much you've achieved, and look how much you've done with all your struggles and with all the things that you had in life, all the things that you had against you, financially, personally. So all the things that might look against you, like you were beating the odds. And this is the whole point of the podcast. And I definitely wanted to open up about that, of the aim of this podcast. It's for you to see all the stories of these beautiful, amazing, ambitious women, that it doesn't matter what was their background. Look at all the things that they've achieved by showing up, waking up, and keep going back to their support network. So I hope, if this resonates with you a little bit, like this video, share it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk face to face with me, and you'll see a little bit more. Thank you very much for today. Again, I'm Michelle Castillo. Thank you for your attention.